Okay, we are 1 minute on time, but there'll be some brief introduction, so to start. Anybody is free to join ongoing. Okay, thanks for coming. We're going to speak about the geomapping in Drupal CMS from basics to advanced with a Geofield Stack. That is a stack of modules that I directly maintain in Drupal.org. And we're going to see and go through nice, good-looking maps and use cases. I will be very quick. This will be a quick overview. Probably one presentation could be done for each of the modules and the settings that we will go through. But I prefer to give you a bunch of information, the most of the information, also a practical tool you can start building advanced mapping with, and then you're free to direct message me whenever you want. Okay, why I'm here? This started because of the launch of the Drupal CMS, and then I realized that these modules are part of it in the events recip. So I just posted these LinkedIn posts that I would find that I'm very excited to be part of this new product as an official maintainer, and then Joseph looked at this post and invited me to this presentation. Who I am? I am Itmaier on Drupal.org, senior web architect, developer, etc., etc. I've been working with many web agencies in north of Italy, more recently also abroad for United Nations, Unity Technologies in Copenhagen. And also at the moment, I'm still freelancing, but mostly working for the European Commission as a web architect for Digit Directorate, dealing with the promotion of open source solutions for public administration and whatever. I'm official maintainer of a bunch of modules on Drupal.org. Some of them are listed here. You can also see layout paragraph, already mentioned in some intervention of mine, entity PDF, EOS catalog. But today we are mostly focusing on these bunch of modules, Geofield, Leaflet, Geocoder, that are with the core of all the use cases that we're going through, but also this media library importer, that is a kind of new one that will let us directly import images, make them media and geomedia, because of the Geocoder will geolocate automatically all of them. And then there is a newcomer, there is this new recip that I made on purpose for this presentation, and then I provided and published recently on Drupal.org. Some more info later. Okay, so what happens when we install Drupal CMS, and let's imagine that we choose to make it build with the events recip. Basically, we will find ourselves in this situation where the CMS is providing us an events menu with the list of events. At the moment, its scaffold comes up with the DrupalCon Atlanta bundling in it. And if I go in the view, basically there is the hero image, the date of the event, and also the address of the event, and automatically a very basic leaflet map show us where this event will be. You can just zoom in, zoom out. This is a very basic implementation. Of course, both Geofield, Leaflet, and Geocoder are all part of this. But what happens here? That we do have an event content type with a geofield defined, and the geofield basically is being automatically generated with the geocode operation that I set coming from the location address. So basically the user just defined the address, and thanks to the implementation of the nominative geocoder, it becomes a couple latitude and longitude, and it is rendered as a map. Okay, very basic. But okay, so it means that this bunch of modules are part of the CMS. Let's see how things can be much pushed forward. Okay, few words on the modules that are part of this. at least the core ones. Of course, the Geofield is the king, is the general dependency of the Geofield Stack. It creates a Geofield field type. It allows you to create a Geofield field type based on the geo-PHP geospatial library, and it supports every kind of primitives, points, lines, polygons, geometries. Basically, it stores data in well-known text that is supported by MySQL, but also supports input in GeoJSON, so very modern. And it doesn't provide more than a raw well-known text widget, latitude and longitude widget, and formatters. Nothing more than that. It's super much used in the community. I took over this module since Drupal 8. So let's say the end of 2016 is still rising, and it overcame the adoption in Drupal 7. At the moment, more than 65,000. So just to better understand what we are speaking about. The Leaflet module is the great integration of the Leaflet JS mapping library in Drupal. It's not the only one, but for sure is the more official, more solid, more advanced, etc., etc. It provides mixable geofield, translates in a leaflet formatter, in a leaflet map view style, and it implements APIs so that you can implement your own mapping tiles. You can adopt OpenStreetMap, you can adopt Google Maps, you can adopt Mapbox, and you can even make multi-layers. It integrates with the clustering. There is a submodule that is Leaflet Map Cluster, and very important, it supports tokens. Okay, so all the settings that you set in your formatter on the Leaflet map view can be dynamic, depends on the properties of the entities you're going to map. So the map is themed dynamically depending on the properties of the entities. This is the beauty of Drupal and geomapping, okay? Because it takes advantage of all the entity API and all the pros of Drupal content management system. Worth to mention that everything we do in Drupal Leaflet by default with its own setting can be extended thanks to the creation of these events. So the creation of the map also triggers an event that everybody can use and attach to, and then extend his own map. I will show you more. The Leaflet module is much used also and is clearly increasing its own adoption. All these modules are very much maintained. My responsiveness is very high, not only mine, because there is a community of contributors, and no big issues and no big bugs at all at the moment. What I was mentioning is this one in the Leaflet Drupal.js file. You can see that there is this Leaflet map init event that is created that brings the map definition, the map ID. So the Leaflet map also supports multi-maps on the same page that are marked to different map ID, and also the markers, so the features that are going to be embedded and rendered in the map. So everybody can attach to this, can react, can bind, and extend and do whatever he wants with the Leaflet map JS library. Then there is the Geocoder module, super famous, is the most advanced and complete solution to geocode and reverse geocode entities in Drupal, much known, is based on an official PHP library that supports many geocoder providers, external vendors, commercial and open source, ArcGIS Online, Bing Maps, Google Maps, etc., etc. And it supports, of course, geofields and the address field. And worth to mention that also supports these formats like GPX, automatically geocoding of GPX files, XML, GeoJSON, of course, and also images throughout the EXIF information that can be found into the image. Okay, You know that every time you shoot an image, you shoot a picture, your mobile, whatever, there is this metadata attached to it that takes note of every information that could, such the camera, the whatever, and also the date, and if it is GPS supported, also the location. Also, the Geocoder module is much used and is not, is stable in its own adoption. Okay, all of these, Geofield, both Geofield and Leaflet, they do come in their own Drupal.org page with the link with this public live demo that is located on under this geodemocracy.com domain, where practical working demo examples are provided to the users. For instance, for what regards Leaflet, this is a nice, more advanced map implementation on Manhattan. It shows some practical examples, for instance, of nice leaflet pop-ups, images, different markers, also the clustering, different markers depending on the category of this is a restaurant, and there is an hospital, whatever. In this case, there is also the injection of external resources. In this case, there are the Manhattan subway lines that are themed with different colors depending on the specific line. And also there is this sidebar, right sidebar that clearly shows you how you can implement something that interacts externally with the map. This looks a little bit chaotic, but I just made it to let the user understand what can be done and how it can be done. Basically, these technical notes points you to inspect a JavaScript file that is this leaflet map interaction and understand how this is done. Worth to mention that this supports Search API, etc., and also supports geometries. This is another nice example. Basically, this takes all world countries boundaries and it renders each of them with a random color. And also this sidebar, there is a direct link to this file that shows you how you can, this is done just in hooking with this leaflet map init and then loading data from this static GeoJSON file and then make it random theming, generating a random color. Not rocket science, but the effect is. This also shows you how Leaflet can indeed, and the Geofield can indeed support geometries, closed polygons in this case. Also, this kind of permanent tooltip, you see. Okay. Feel free to stop me for question, but the talk foresees 10 minutes of Q&A. This something was done during the pandemic that shows how this can be, very informative. This shows some data intervals, the expansion of the pandemic. This, was done fetching data with migrate from Johns Hopkins University and creating the entities by date. And basically with the value of cases per country, I don't remember exactly, but basically Leaflet supports also the circle marker that you can make it parametric throughout the value you pass to with token. So basically this way then you choose which kind of color you want, and so you can have this kind of analysis and replicate something that was done more, let's say officially by some other providers. This can easily be done. Among the thousands of adoptions, I'm not aware of what people is doing and pushing to the edges this. But I would like to mention this application from this Danish guy. It's called Ressa on Drupal.org. He's helping a lot. He's a great contributor to the model, super effective, responsive, and he made this application basically is for Denmark. This is in Danish, okay, but basically it says is a tool to find where to buy a house, where it's worth to buy a house, depending on what? The prices. So I want a house that stays between these and these, or maybe he listed so many indicators coming from nature and whatever. Of course, Google Chrome can help translating. It's also nice that implemented something. This is the quality of the air, so he's able to do this kind of this thematization that is not chloropleth. Okay. Also, going back is worth to also see how complex he was able to make the leaflet pop-ups. Okay, you really can unleash your creativity. It's not that complicated. And make something really, I mean, this is outstanding, absolutely super professional. And moving forward, I want to focus on something that I'm experimenting and pushing forward with at the moment, that is automatic geocoding of images. Of course, we are free to upload our image. Geocoder will automatically geomap thanks to the EXIF information that you will fetch from the image. But recently, I was able to meet this new model that I took over, made more stable, more featured, and it's called Media Library Importer module that lets you automatically create media from a public directory. It also embeds now the media image EXIF importer, is a submodule. Thanks to QUI, it makes you importing stuff in batch. And also there is a dash command, and you can, of course, also implement cron jobs. So basically, this is something that is being used to automatically implement your storytelling eventually. You have a bunch of images, then you can just put in your folder and it will make all the work. You just need some custom code to trigger the creation of the contents that embeds these geo images, and then you can map. So throughout this, for instance, I made this storytelling about this mountain bike trip that I did last year from Bologna to Florence, and that became also an article for the Drop Times. They published, basically, it is this application. Let's go full screen. So basically, this shows the place we started from, Bologna, and the path that were followed. Basically, this is the GPS file that was injected as a content here and made as a geometry. And then there are all the images that were taken during these 3 days adventure. And also, it is possible to map also the places of interest that are part of these. Want to mention that this is the famous Way of Gods. It goes from Bologna to Florence, is much known, but there is no such a map, digital map about it anywhere. So, okay, so it's easy to do something that is not so trivial. Also nice, but I want to go through this later on in the next example. You can make a dynamic date filter based on the images that you input. This is the case. I spent 3 years in Copenhagen, and I wanted to filter to pick all my best images in Copenhagen. This is the result. You can see how here I made also some custom styling for the clusters. Also, I mentioned that this can support multi-levels, multi-tiles, I can define the tile I want, and then I can provide on the same map. The first one is a vector one, is based on map libre, is more advanced because it doesn't lose any detail. If you zoom in, still stay very light and very quick. And this is the effect. I mean, at the moment, this is loading more than 500 features, images, instantly rendering them, declustering when I zoom in, and I made some good styling, basically using this preview, small preview, and I think is super cool. Also, the date filter automatically takes the dates from each of the images of GeoMedia created, and I can generate a filter that also lists the number of pictures I took some days, some specific days. Let's say the 8th of April 2024, and then I can remember what I did that day. And of course, you can just start being inspired what could be done, also allowing different users, storytellers, whatever, events, okay? Of course, you can match this kind of mapping representation with normal views, grid views. Also, it's possible to implement some trick and implement some automatic link to more known and official tools like Street View, Google Map, so to instantly pointing the user to the place the shot was taken, and then start making directions, operation, whatever. Also the date is listed, and I can implement also the specific page about that the image and that event. I can also add the description, whatever. Going more and more advanced, let's have a look to this use case. This is an experimental project aimed to the promotion of this town in Puglia, not by chance my birthplace, both for territorial marketing and citizen active participations. This pushes everything more in advanced use case because this is a more sophisticated nested architecture of contents, paragraphs, and media types. So paragraph types, media types, and as you can see in this case, the map starts from a zoom out that only shows boundaries of areas, okay, with some pre-open tooltips. These are not pop-ups, tooltips. And then when I zoom in, I can define in my Java some rules, no? Or maybe as I've done here, in my Drupal entities, I define zoom visibility, it should be close, from far, and then I match the rules with the logics that I can implement in the JavaScript. So you can see here some point of interest. They had automatic tooltip, others I assume that I should hover on them to make them appear. And also is interesting when you do maps, it's very important the user experience. So in this case, you can see that the icon, they do become bigger once you zoom in. They do become smaller when you zoom out because you try to make the map still very usable to the user and clear to be served at different zooms. Also in this case, I implemented some custom SVG icons. For instance, in this case, this is an iconic cathedral, and its own icon matches the shape, so as this building also. Nice also to mention this. You can implement these overlays in the Leaflet setup, so every content can be tagged with some taxonomy, content type, whatever. These automatically can become different overlays in the Leaflet map. So in this case, There are the areas that we have seen before. And in this case, there are also the images that I can switch off. By default, I say these are hidden. In this case, are all the images. I went more through in this styling. The opacity is half, 50%, but when I hover it, it comes 100, then I can click, and then I can kind of embed in the map some specific sightseeing, some specific pictures of the place that I want to promote, kind of that. Also, in this case, you can see that icons can even become animated. This is just some CSS tricks. It takes the data depending on some. In this case, this is supposed to be a report from an inhabitant. This is a bad report saying the malfunctioning of traffic lights for a long time, and this is, in this case, is red. But maybe something could be green if it is a nice report, or maybe this can be just be events. Okay, events happening that day in that area. So I could implement some data filter to make the map, let's say, alive and changing day by day on specific circumstances. Also, of course, I can match this with other representation. This is, for instance, the list of the best places of interest for this town, more official. This is also localized. Is a pretty interesting. I've been playing with the AI translation and also automatic generation of content. When I start saying, okay, hey, DeepSeek or whatever, please tell me something about the cathedral, this place, that it provides me the first description and then automatic translation. So it's really interesting what can be done. Okay, that said, I want to provide something. I want to provide something for the community and take advantage of the CMS. All these setup, all these use cases, they entail some advanced setup that can be packed in a receipt. So basically, I wanted to do that for this presentation, and I did it. Basically, I generated, it took some work because it's not that easy to pack a receipt. You need different iteration, you need to generate a new configuration. If there is some configuration conflict, you need to go and override it in the receipt YAML. Okay, but basically I did it. So I created this new receipt that is in Drupal.org that basically automatically let you import and geomap your images and Photoshops in Drupal. Okay, basically says that this has been tested in Drupal CMS, but should work also for Drupal 10, and it's been tested with core and the events receipt, and basically provides all the instruction how to do this. Okay. Let's go back to the synthesis of the step. Basically, it foresees that, by default, you are supposed to put your images in these photo albums folder inside the Drupal file system. On the files, you all know all these locations. And then you can require and install the Drupal Recipes with some concats of ddev and dash commands, and then you can simply import all of them with this dash mli command that is implemented in the media library imported. So let's try to do this. I just took, for convenience, I also provide one unique command. So let's go back. We started with the Drupal CMS, is this one. So we are starting from here. Okay, let's imagine that we just install the events receipt and then we just trigger this command. And hopefully, let's see, it works. So basically what it's doing is installing, is requiring the receipt. The receipt has some additional dependency like the media library imported, but also there is a custom module that implements the logic that I provide in the packages. It looks, thankfully, that it works. And then this is required, it is enabled, all works. You just rebuild the cache, and it starts importing. It starts importing the images that I placed in the photo album folder. Okay, so basically it's taking all the stuff contained here automatically. And let's see what's happening. If I reload the home page, it resets the home page on the map, and you can see that it starts creating images and geolocating automatically without any. I also included some nice from DAOs. This is the night yesterday. Let's see if it works. Yes, it's working. It's not super quick, but it's not problem. Maybe this is still relying on the nominative Geocoder that is provided by default, is open by the Drupal CMS. Maybe everybody can. Maybe there are some quicker Geocoder, but it's still okay. The nice thing is that okay, let's also go here, because in the recipe it also provides geometry, a geometry content type. So I can, let's say, create a new geometry, let's say a test geometry. It supports automatic geocoding, let's say Davos. In Switzerland, it creates these, but then I can also start drawing it. It supports I can draw whatever. It should be a polygon, and then I can create some polyline, and then I can even change them. Okay, I mean this tool is called Geoman, is an integration, and it's super nice, super easy. You can zoom in, zoom out. It's very interactive. You can stop the editing, restart the editing, cancel the feature, you can cut. Imagine for the geomapping of a master plan in a town, this is super effective. In this case, of course, it translates everything you do in GeoJSON. So I could look at here. Okay, there should be, let me try to understand if I can. Okay, in the downloads, I do have this is a GeoJSON file that is an official mapping of bike paths in the Puglia region. Okay, let's see what happens. Should do something now. Okay, yes. Maybe I made a wrong copy paste. This is pretty big, but it works very nicely. Why is red? Because I made also some fill here. Let's imagine I want to make a not red. Don't die, please. No, die now. Okay, you didn't die. Kind of died. Oh, don't die now, please. Okay, my Mac needs some battery, maybe. Just a moment. If you have questions in this meanwhile, we are almost done.
So thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, please.
I hope you have learned something. When you think about the steps you've done,
maybe I misunderstood something, but this editor, what is this editor?
Sorry?
This is a geofield by default, and you can create shapes, or is this an additional module?
No, this is implemented in Leaflet. Leaflet embeds the Geoman library that lets you draw. Okay, you can set up in the widget settings if you want to let the user add points or polygons, polylines, if you want to, all these small features. Okay, and where is the plug for the and so this is all embedded.
And one follow-up question, if you have this custom geometry stuff, is this also exposed in the API, like JSON API? Do you know that?
Sorry, can you say it again?
Is this exposed, the GeoJSON data? Is this exposed in the JSON API of Drupal, you know, the JSON API for headless implementations, basically?
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, absolutely. This is basically stored in well-known text, but then the GeoPHP mapping library, that is dependency of Geofield, have a translation in GeoJSON. You can translate, and then you can of course implement your JSON API provider that responds with, of course, yes, absolutely, yes. But there is also a view GeoJSON module that eventually you can skip all these in Drupal. You just implement, you provide your GeoJSON, and you can make your map with the Drupal contents totally decoupled, eventually. So let me retry this, because it's not supposed not to work. Okay, now it works. I want to change the color. Okay, save. And then this becomes part of the main map, the old map, you can see. This is not trivial. I mean, it's pretty quick. You can see open data portals that provides this kind of geographical information. They are not so quick. And this is really, we are just scraping the surface of these possibilities. Last thing I want to mention, want to let you just try, is that the media library importer is incremental. This is very important. For instance, he was mapping these contents. He already breaks down in the folder, matching the folder in the folder that I choose as the fetcher source. But then let's imagine that I add some. In this case, I'm just unpacking these files. So I went to Venice, Carnival. I want to add new pictures to this map. Basically, it should come on. Let me clear the cache. No, not here. Now it should be able. This is not supposed to be. Can you see any? Okay, anyway, it should now see the Venice source and just import. Here they are. If I retrigger, okay, I did it manually, but I can just rerun HMLI, or I just rely on the cron job. It won't import. It can recognize what is already imported, and it can just import the new stuff. So this can work automatically once you add your new photos, your new pictures in the same folder. After every cron, you have all the images updated in your map. And this is what it's doing now. It's just taking, see if Venice comes out. Basically, it's importing, it's generating media, geocoding, and generating also the content that it attached to. And these are the shots taken in Venice that day. Okay. So basically, feel free to go on that receipt, try it out, and of course, post issues or feature requests, whatever. If they don't work for you, you want something else. And yeah, that's it. I hope that was kind of interesting. The photography. I was hoping this.
So, can you tell where you performed mapping of these EXIF fields with the media entity. I don't know how it's done. You all hopefully have seen the gallery with the mountain camp images. And I tried to do that Drupal, but I was not. It's some years ago. I was not successful doing it with Drupal, so I did a custom PHP script, and I can upload the images with rsync. So I want to be able to change some images afterwards. So I would have to have some mechanism for a unique ID of each image. And ideally, I want to sync that with my photo archive with Lightroom. And I have a unique ID available there. So I would need to have some custom field in the media type and map that and then just update the image, the corresponding image file.
Exactly. Basically, you need two things: the geo field in the media and the image field that embeds the image. And then you tell to the geo field to be geocoded by the image EXIF provider that is provided. I show you. Okay, where is it? I'm still confused about. Okay, these. If I go to system, then I go to Geocoder, I can see Geocoder providers, okay? Then there is a new one that you can enable. You don't need to require because it's embedded in the Geocoder model. Then there is the file you just need to add, okay? It is provided. You just need to add. So then in the media, I have defined a media, what is it? Structure, media types. There is the GeoMedia. In the GeoMedia, I have some fields. One is the GeoField, and basically say that the GeoField should be geocoded from the image field that embeds the image uploads, and working with the file geocoder provider. Okay, it automatically extracts, if existing, the EXIF coordinates and sets the geofield for you.
But is there a way to fetch other EXIF fields? I mean, there are a lot of different EXIF and IPDC metadata.
At the moment, yes, I needed to, yes. That's why the media library implements now the media image EXIF importer. So this is a model that was abandoned. I don't know why. Then now is a sub-module of this media library importer module that is able to fetch the data, the date, and other information. I don't know if you mean also the camera type, this kind of stuff. Yeah. I don't know if they are all implemented, this kind of information, but some of them they are. Otherwise, we need another module.
Yeah, there would be a nice.
But of course, yeah. So of course, the information is available along the image import. Of course.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the nice overview and all good examples. I was wondering, there's a second module called geolocation, and I never quite know the difference. And I almost never know which one I used previously, so I have to go back and watch and check what I did. But what is the main key difference that separates geofield from geolocation?
Okay, geolocation is made by my friend Christian Adamaki. I mean, we know each other. It's a kind of competing. Since Drupal 7, there is this fork. Since some time ago, I will say the main difference is that Geofield natively supports every primitives. Okay, geolocation was just for points. Now geolocation also supports. I don't know to what level. No, I mean there is no clear. I will say that is much harder. It's more complex. It's hard to install. I mean, this bunch of modules There is good documentation in the README files, but also in the issue queue, and it's very easy to set up. I mean, by default, you just implement, you install Leaflet, you set the formatter, at least you have the marker with the map, and there are many settings, but it's easy. Geolocation looked to me pretty complex, because it's very ambitious. It's all based on plugins, on classes. It's supposed to be very extendable. So kind of agnostic from the specific use, and it is very, I mean, look and go and try them out. I mean, there is no clear, in my opinion, is more complex.
I also have a question. Do you have experience with indoor maps?
Which one?
With indoor maps, that you provide a map for inside of a room.
No, not yet.
No.
But I suggest you, I was mentioning to some colleagues, there is a super cool recent blog post from Aten Group. Aten Group is this Denver-based company. They made this Drupal backend. They implemented React for Leaflet, or Leaflet for React, I don't know. And Leaflet allows you to use just image overlays. So you make some coordinate systems that are not geographic. They made with 1000 per 1 XY. So they just setting XY in the entity they provide to Leaflet map. They made the Tampa airport map, interactive map. Super cool. Just as a single page application. But I mean, yeah, I mean, in the end, you could do this. You just extend and work with the overlays. Well, yeah.
I have also a question. When you upload images, then you showed us that you used the Nominatim API for additional information. As I think the place or locations or so.
Mm.
But how do you handle if you make pictures maybe outside bigger areas and the Nominatim information is not so good, so maybe you have no location or no description or something like that. How do you handle then the description here or the addresses in the images?
Okay. That comes from the Geocoder model. The Geocoder models wraps the the PHP corresponding library, okay? That is called, Geocoder PHP library. Geocoder PHP library, it supports so many providers, okay? Maps Geocoder, Google Maps Geocoder, Bing Geocoder, Nominatim, so as a Photon, they come from OpenStreetMap. They are free. They don't ask you for paying API key, so basically you're able to rely on them for geocoding operation. And be someone that is more capable. Basically, the Nominatim doesn't do anything more than try to translate an address into a pair of latitude and longitude. If you recognize that address, it translates and writes the geofield. You can do the opposite, that is called reverse coding. So that's the only information that the geocoder provides. It's true that not all of them work the same. So probably the Google Maps is the more evolved, I don't know, the more precise, the more able to understand. But nice thing for the geocoder, you can implement 2, 3, 4 at the same time, and you make the sorting. So you try with the first one. If the first one cannot geocode, then it goes and tries the other one. So you can maybe implement first the free one, and then last the one that will consume some API quota.
I have a question about a specific use case. Given you have many images and their geolocation in your system, is there a way to specify a geometry
on a leaflet map, like drawing a polygon or a rectangular selection, and use this geometry as input to an exposed filter for a view, so that you just get a list of all these images within this area.
Yes, the proximity filter, kind of that. All the images at the moment, let's see. It is called proximity filters. If I look for Drupal Geofield, as I showed you, all these modules, they do provide a live demo link. You see, this is an example of, you can put an address here. You say, okay, find everything that is within 5 kilometers from this address. There is also all plugin based. Then I can also try to fetch the geolocation of the user. Then instead of the manual input of the origin, it can rely on the position of the user if he can geolocate. And also you're free to add your own origin plugin. So this is the capabilities, an operation that is done in the well-known text database. So there is an input. So in this way, you can select the features that are inside or outside specific distance range. I don't know if I'm answering to your... And of course, the target of this research can be polygons, of course, not only points or polylines. Probably it works on the body center of the polygon. Did I? Okay. Okay, no other question? Thanks for coming.